Hello, you know what time it is, you've read the title, it's time for the Apex Legends gun tier list. Season 8 edition, let's get right into it. And like usual, these are my opinions, these are what I think of the guns. First up, we've got F tier. Like usual, I don't believe that any guns belong in this tier, the guns are way too good at this point in the game to be F tier. Next up, we've got D tier. These guns are very bad in most scenarios, and I would suggest dropping them the second you get the chance. Up first, we have the Mozambique. The meme is S tier, however, the gun is D tier. It does less than 30 damage a shot, and the hop-up still lacks anything to add to the gun to bring it above D tier. It is absolute garbage. Throw it in the trash. The only way they could buff the Mozambique would be to give it maybe 1 or 2 more shots or increase the damage. Please just buff this gun. I want it to be good. Even the gold version of this gun sucks. It's so bad. Next is the longbow. In Season 7, the longbow was pretty much part of the meta, because it was good enough that you could use it at almost all ranges. But now that the game is more focused on short to mid-range engagements and snipers are basically obsolete now, except for the really, really good ones, of course, it's kind of trash. Now you may be thinking, but it does 55 damage per shot, that's pretty good, and my response is, no. Take the end game, for example. If you hit someone for 55, they will easily just pop 2 shield cells and boom, they're back up to full health. The longbow is the lowest damage sniper and consequently is the worst. The longbow will be joining Mozambique in the D tier for this season. Now we've got C tier. C tier guns can be pretty good, just not ideal, and I would still suggest using a gun from the higher tiers. First up, we've got the charge rifle. This gun is still the only hit scan weapon in the game, but it's still pretty bad. Its damage for long to medium engagements is pretty good, but I'd still pick up a sentinel over it any day of the week. It is the slowest reload out of any gun in the game, it is unable to use the new golden mags, and it's just frankly a bad weapon. The easiest way to buff the charge rifle would be to decrease its reload time, or give it access to mags, or maybe even both, but this gun is still pretty good. It may be very hard to use, but being able to hit some players for up to 90 damage is still really good. Next up, we've got the RA-45. The RA-45 is a trash gun. It's absolute garbage, but it's still better than the Mozambique. Its DPS is lackluster and fails to provide anything that makes me want to pick it up in an actual game. Next up, we've got the P2020. This is basically the brother of the RA-45. This gun, it's meh. It's meh. With hammer points, it's a beast. It's A tier easily with hammer points, but in any other situation, it's easily C tier. You can't put it above C tier. It's really, really good with hammer point, but that can't carry its entire case up to A tier or to B tier. It's C tier. I can't put it above that. It's really good, but it's still C tier. Next up, we have B tier. These weapons can be very viable when paired with higher tier guns, and that's what I would suggest doing if you have these. First up is the Alternator. The Alternator received a very welcome buff to its damage this season by increasing the gun's damage from 15 to 16 damage per shot. This gun is very good in the hands of someone who likes to main this weapon, but even then I would still suggest using a gun from the higher tiers. Don't get me wrong though, it's really, really good. You can easily laser someone in close range, and it's fairly good in medium range, just I would still suggest using something from A or S tier. Next up, we've got the Sentinel. In my last gun tier list, I said that this gun was trash. It's not. After using this gun for a while as a secondary weapon, I realized the true power. It only uses 2 shield cells to charge up and really feels like a baby Kraber sometimes. It's so good, but I feel it would be better if the charge would either stay until the mag was out, so you don't feel pressure to snipe when you don't need to, or increase the damage per shot a bit when it's charged up. Other than that, it's so satisfying to get kills with. Such a good sniper. Next up, we have the L-Star. This gun, I realized, is insane. It has the easiest to hit fire with. It has the same DPS as the Volt if you hit enough of your shots, but the problem is that the beam is so big and the recoil is so much that you often only hit about 5 of those shots instead of 50. And that's why it's all the way down in B tier instead of up in A tier where a lot of people put it. An extra 2 damage per shot would be good, or being able to access barrel stabilizers. Please respawn, just give it barrel stabilizers. Please, we're begging you. Next up in B tier is the EVA 8 shotgun. This shotgun is alright, it's not good, and in most cases I would rather have the Sentinel or the Mastiff as a side gun. This gun used to be really high up on my tier list, almost verging on S tier, but now that the meta has changed and there is such a better shotgun in the game, I have to put EVA in B tier. Up next is A tier. These guns are really, really good, and I suggest using these guns in almost every single scenario. First up, we've got the Devotion. The Devotion is a masterpiece. It is so overpowered. If you get it turbocharger on your devotion, you win the game. You've got death in the palm of your hand. The only reason why this gun is not S tier is because the recoil on it is insane. And unless you get turbocharger on this gun, it's still average. The charge up time is ridiculous and you can't really fire really far with it. But the one thing that I do have to say about this gun is that it should be in care packages because this gun is too overpowered for it to be floor loot. Next up is the 3030 repeater. This gun is new. This is the newest gun in the game, and for that, it's not quite S tier. It could make a couple of buffs, making the headshot damage stronger or the body shot damage stronger, but it's still a fairly good gun. Like most heavy guns, it slows down your targets when you hit them, and it's an average gun. It's not as good as G7 Scout, but it's still fairly good, and just like almost any other hard-hitting weapon, it pairs perfectly with the P2020 with hammer point. If you can get this gun and a P2020 with hammer point, you've basically got a fairly good loadout on your hands. It's a very good gun, just it's not quite there yet. Next up is the triple take. This is still the best sniper in the game other than the Cray Bear. Being able to use this gun just as effectively while hip firing and in close range is amazing. Granted, it's no Cray Bear, but it's easily the best weapon in the sniper class. This gun will always be at the top or in the mid-ranges of A tier. Up next is the Havoc. Yep, the Havoc. The meta has changed, but the Havoc still remains on top. If you can get a turbocharger on it, it can easily be S tier. But in any other situation, it's A tier. It's terrible from long range, and it's still really, really good in short and medium range. If you can control the huge amounts of recoil that it has, it's insane. It's such a good weapon. Up next is the Wingman. This gun is insane when used in the hands of a pro and even in the hands of a competent player. The reason why headshots with the Wingman never happen, and it's usually really hard to find the perfect clip for your Wingman montage, is because unless you're a pro player, it's impossible to hit your shots. But if you know what you're doing, then you can easily wipe out enemies' shield and even kill them within a couple of shots. This gun is really, really good. Up next is a Spitfire. This gun was really good before, and it just got even better. If you didn't already know, Respawn has recently given the Spitfire an increase in damage. A very welcome one, if I may add. It may only be an extra 1 damage per shot, but you would be surprised about how much that can make a difference. And now that Apex added golden mags, the Spitfire is thriving right now. Literally, if you get a purple or a golden mag on a Spitfire, you can go make a sandwich and come back before the mag runs out. Next up is the Flatline. The Flatline was kind of garbage before Season 8, but now that Anvil Receiver is back, this gun is doing better than ever. This is now one of my favorite guns to use, and I oftentimes pick up this gun over the Wingman or even the Hemlock. It's just that good. Being able to use this gun at all ranges feels so good, and if you haven't tried out the Flatline yet this season, please do. This is your sign to do that. It's such a good weapon, and if you can get Flatline with Anvil Receiver on it, it's even better. And now we have S tier, the big S. These guns are insane, and I would suggest picking these up the second you get the chance. Up first is the Hemlock. This gun may have gotten a nerf, but it is insane. You can use this gun at all ranges, and last season it was the meta. This gun was perfect last season. It may not be the new meta, but it's up there. This gun is so versatile, and you can do anything you like with it, as long as you get the right scope. You want to use this gun for long range? Go ahead, as long as you've got a mid-range scope. Next up is the G7 Scout. The G7 Scout is insane. It's the best long-range gun in the game, and it's not even a sniper. The G7 Scout has the best accuracy and range from the light ammo guns, and one of the best built-in scopes in the game. It can easily shoot past the 150 meter mark, and it is the easiest to use long-range gun in the game. It's better than the 3030 repeater. It's a spam sniper. It's so good. Next up is the R301. This gun is absolutely perfect. It has 0 recoil even without a barrel stabilizer in stock. It's perfectly balanced as all guns should be. It does enough body damage that you can kill most people before the mag empties out. The meta has changed from long engagements to medium and fairly close engagements, which the R301 strives at. And now that Anvil Receiver is here, the gun absolutely dominates in lobbies. It is the meta this season. This is the perfect gun to pick up if you've just joined Apex. Next up is the Mastiff. This gun is insane. It's so easy to hip fire with, you can choke the spread to get increased damage, but you may be saying, oh, I'm only 12s and 15s, but that's not my problem. You're just bad. If you can use this gun properly, you can easily shoot over 100 damage with this gun, and God forbid that you get a Gibby, or you're rocking this gun with a purple shotgun bolt, or the entire lobby is about to be sent straight into the stratosphere. Next up in S tier is the R99. This gun is the best light ammo gun in the game. You can use it at all ranges, and uses the most common ammo. It's so easy to use, it's the best gun to hit fire with, has the second best built-in scope in the game, it has one of the best DPS in the game, and frankly, it's a beast of an SMG. And the only reason why the R99 isn't on top anymore is because there's the Volt. The Volt SMG is tied with the R99 as the best gun in the game. The Volt is insane. It's an SMG that has better accuracy than the R99. For raw stats, it's the best gun in the game. It has the best recoil, the best accuracy as a gun from its weapon class, and its ammo type. It's tied for being the best gun in the game. Respawn did nerf the Volt, but they also physically and forcefully changed the game's meta, which was in the Volt's favor. This gun, however, may not always be on top, or tied with the R99. The Mastiff and R99 are extremely close to overtaking it, and I mean really close. The R99 could easily be the #1 gun in the game in the next update. And there we have it, this season's gun tier list. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.